as I remember the cruel environment so far across the sea. You know, you don't know what rain is like, do you? You got no idea what rain is like, unless you've been to Viet. Because it would rain there for weeks, not this morning shower stuff. I mean, it would just keep coming down and coming down and coming down and coming down and coming down until I wanted to scream. Back in the days when the name on my uniform said Greaseman, but everybody knew me as Sergeant Fury. Quang Street, 1967. We were hunkered down, expecting enemy attack. You see, by day, we owned Vietnam. But by night, the VC did. They'd disappear. They'd melt into the landscape in the daytime. But at night, they'd attack. I was sitting behind my M60. Robinson had a BAR. Kalachecki and Shapiro both had sawed-off Model 12 Winchester shotguns. That was the great thing about Nam. They issued you an M16, but you could use anything you want, anything you felt comfortable with. A couple of guys had Wingmaster pumps. A lot of the fighting was done in close quarters, and you wanted to have a big slug. You see, one great thing about using a shotgun with slugs in it is that the VC would launch suicide attacks. Just send a wave of people. And they wouldn't stop. Just come man after man, and you'd have to cut them down, because they wouldn't stop unless you cut them down. And if you set a big slug out, sometimes it knocked them down better than the 223. No, we'd gotten word from intelligence that they were planning an attack that night. We put up concertina wire, we rigged the claymores, but we knew when they launched those attacks, some of them get through. And so we waited nervously. We were sure it was going to be the nightmare of battle. Sure enough, at about 0300, incoming! Sappers at the wire, open fire! And I saw them coming, their eyes wild. I just worked that M60 back and forth, cut them down as fast as they climbed through the wire. A couple of them got hung over the wire, and I just let them have it. Yeah! I riddled the bodies as they hung from the wire in the hopes that it would dissuade others from running. But no, they still came on. Like lemmings to the sea, they ran. Shapiro stood up and said, I can't believe they're still coming. And he started firing that Model 12. Yeah! Open that bag! Get it, get it! Get your head down, Shapiro! Fire in the hole! Yeah, we fired until we cut down the last one of them. Disappeared. We looked around, nothing but bodies, nothing but the smell of cordite in the air. And then they were gone. We leaned back and I looked around. Fortunately, a couple of wounds, but nobody screaming for a corpsman. No, we must have blown away 75, 80 VC that day. I said, all right, down to your foxholes, drag them in, bag them. Afterwards, De Lorenzo came up to me and said, Sarge, why do they do that? And I said, haven't you heard? Our intelligence tells us that they got a commanding officer over there that gets them hopped up on drugs, gets them wild-eyed, and convinces them that they're bulletproof, of all things. And so they have a ceremony, they beat their breast, he convinces them they're bulletproof, and they come running at us. You know, some of them didn't even carry guns. Some were just holding knives and pointed sticks, and they charged into our machine gun fire, thinking they were bulletproof. And that's why they keep on coming until you actually cut them down. They have no fear. De Lorenzo shook his head and said, wow, that is sure weird. I said, yeah, I got to find out that commanding officer's name. Shapiro said, why, for after-the-war retribution? I said, no, I want to offer him a job in my used car lot after the war. I mean, that would be something, right? That guy is unbelievable.